The scale of modern scientific inquiry often exceeds the capacity of professional researchers. To address this, many fields are turning to citizen science, a form of crowdsourcing where non-specialists contribute to large-scale data collection. This approach allows scientists to gather massive data sets that would be physically or financially impossible to collect alone. For example, in astronomy, the Galaxy Zoo project invited volunteers to classify the shapes of millions of galaxies using online images. Humans are naturally better at pattern recognition than early algorithms, and the sheer volume of contributors accelerated the project by years. Similarly, in biology, eBird allows millions of amateur birdwatchers to log sightings globally. This real-time data helps researchers track migration shifts caused by climate change across entire continents. While critics initially questioned the accuracy of data from amateurs, studies show that with proper verification protocols, the collective input of the public is remarkably reliable. Today, citizen science isn't just a hobby. It's a vital engine for discovery, bridging the gap between the laboratory and the real world.
As we analyze the long-term shift toward virtual offices, we must consider its impact on social capital, specifically our professional networks. Sociologists distinguish between strong ties, like close teammates you speak with daily, and weak ties, which are the casual acquaintances you encounter in hallways or at the coffee machine. While remote work is excellent for maintaining strong ties, it often erodes the weak ones. In a physical office, spontaneous networking happens naturally. You might bump into a colleague from a completely different department and spark an idea for a cross-functional project. These unplanned interactions are vital for innovation because they expose employees to diverse perspectives outside their immediate circle. In a digital environment, however, almost every interaction is scheduled. We rarely jump into a video call with a stranger just to chat. Consequently, companies risk becoming siloed, where departments grow increasingly isolated. This loss of serendipity can stifle long-term creativity, as the lack of weak ties limits the flow of fresh information across the organization.
For a long time, Western historians viewed indigenous oral traditions, stories, songs, and chants, as mere mythology rather than reliable data. However, a growing body of research in geomythology suggests these oral accounts can be remarkably accurate records of ancient geological events. While written records in some regions only span a few centuries, oral traditions can preserve eyewitness accounts of environmental changes dating back thousands of years. Take, for instance, the stories of the Klamath people in the Pacific Northwest. Their legends describe a terrifying battle between two mountain spirits that led to the collapse of Mount Mazama. Geologists have found that this story perfectly aligns with the cataclysmic volcanic eruption that created Crater Lake, approximately 7,700 years ago. Similarly, along the Australian coast, Aboriginal stories describe a time when the shoreline was miles further out, and the Great Barrier Reef was dry land. These narratives match scientific models of sea level rise following the last ice age. By treating these traditions as living archives, scientists can gain insights into prehistoric volcanic activity, earthquakes, and coastal shifts that predated modern monitoring equipment by millennia.